All right, good morning. It's Friday morning. That means Firearms Friday. And first things first, obviously you can see it's just me on the camera because I want you to see this. This is the pen. This is the pen with the clicky thing that aggravates Cameron so much. I'm throwing it to the other side of the room. No pen. Nothing left on the desk but Sharpies. They don't click. I'll have to tap them to aggravate Cameron. So, that said, here's the emergency backup. Cameron is with us. And good morning. So, it's Firearms Friday. Normally, what we do on Firearms Friday is we celebrate defensive gun use in the nation. And this morning, I'm going to start, and largely I'm going to start with this so that I can throw the other camera away in just a second. And I won't throw it. It's a camera. I mean, I'll set it gently out of the way. But it's in my way for the moment. As you can see, it's right here. This is a camera. So, I'm going to pop us over to the article view temporarily. No, the other article view. Fat boy, pay attention, damn it. This one. Okay, so here's what you're looking at. This is a questionnaire that just came yesterday from the NRA about gun control. I'm going to go through it with you guys on the air right now, and I'm going to you'll see my answers. Whatever, you could probably guess my answers. You probably look at me and guess how I'm going to answer this kind of a series of questions. Hey, Trish is with us. Good morning. Good morning. There's Ma. Look at that. Family. Ma says, good morning, son. Sergeant Major has gone fishing. Yeah, Mario and I said good morning and have a great day to His Majesty as he was rolling out of the driveway about a half an hour ago. So, good to see he's going fishing. I wish I could be going fishing today, but I've got a dryer to fix. So, let's dig into this survey. The reason it's important to do things like this, right up here in the corner, it actually says instructions. One of the biggest lies circulating on Capitol Hill is that gun owners like you support Biden, Pelosi, Schumer gun ban agenda. Please set the record straight right now and give me the hard proof I need to show members of Congress the truth about what NRA members really believe. So, you keep hearing this recited over and over again. And Steve's with us. Good morning, Steve. Steve and I have often talked about how disappointed we are with the NRA generally. Because don't forget, the NRA was largely responsible for the Brady Bill. The NRA has not been the champion for gun rights that we would like them to have been. Now, that said, unfortunately, the NRA is kind of like, the NRA is like a Republican politician. They're more of a stopgap than an actual pursuit of conservative interests. And that's something we're going to be talking more and more about on the show, the stopgap provision. For example, last night, Mario and I, and Mom and Dad were there too. We went to the local GOP meeting, and we got to speak to Debbie Dooley. And she was talking about the new laws regarding amphibious priapism. And I made it a point to say, listen, here's what Republicans are aggravated about. We saw crimes committed with clear evidence. We know who the perpetrators are and have clear evidence on these people. My question is not, how do you plan to secure amphibian priapisms in the future? My question is, why are there no consequences for breaking these laws already? Why has no one been prosecuted? Why is the law not enforced? Right? And I even use the analogy, secure election laws are very much like gun control laws. What you're doing is you're taking the thing that's a crime and you're saying again, this is a crime. And the result is you disarm the lawful citizen. The people who already weren't going to commit the crimes are now not going to commit the crimes. What you have not done is added teeth to the enforcement of those laws and said, look, if you break the law, there will be consequences. At a minimum, there should be a financially disastrous fine levied against every single person that can be proved to have caused the problem of the last priapism. I know there's a lot of euphemism there because this is a gun show, this is a gun control topic, and I'm making reference to another topic that would get us banned from YouTube. So I'm trying to be very careful about that, and I'm not going to discuss that topic so much, but that's I say all that to get to this. Our Republican representatives have been largely inadequate for living memory. The best you can hope for with a Republican is that they are a stopgap or non-progressive. The best you can hope for is that they don't push forward the destructive anti-American agenda of the left, and that they fill a seat that would otherwise be filled by a dangerous progressive. Right? But what you cannot hope for, what no Republican politician is even promising to do, is to actually pursue Republican objectives, conservative objectives. You do not have anybody running, especially at you have a few exceptions at local levels, but you have nobody running at the national level or even at the state levels that's saying, if I'm elected, I will work to repeal existing gun laws. If I'm elected, I will work to curtail the ability of big tech to censor speech. If I'm elected, I will work to criminalize the murder of children. If I'm, XYZ, you do not have them saying, I will work to do the things conservatives want me to do. The best you have from any of them is, I will try and block progressives from doing the things that conservatives don't want progressives to do. That is insufficient. Defense is insufficient. Stop voting for Republicans that are not promising, at least promising to go on the offensive. I want to say don't vote for a Republican that doesn't have a history of going on the offensive, but frankly, since all we can hope for is the stopgap that they'll fill the seat, we need that much at least, if that's all we can get. And right now, we don't have anybody running who has a record of going on the offensive and doing conservative work. I challenge any of you to name for me one Republican, one elected Republican, that I would not immediately replace with almost any other person. So, back to the survey. These are important. And the reason these are important, you keep hearing these leftist monsters reciting this absolute bald-faced lie that 80% or 85% of Americans support common sense gun control. It's a lie. It's a damn lie. They keep repeating that lie. And where they get the data from that they point to pretend like the lie is supported, where they keep pointing to for that data are surveys where the questions are things like, do you support background checks? Do you support universal background checks? These questions are being asked primarily of progressives. They'll go to a college campus and ask a bunch of shithead kids, right? Or they'll go to just a Democrat-heavy area. And then when they ask the questions are leading. More correctly, misleading. So they'll ask questions like, do you support ending the gun show loophole? The question on its face is a fallacy. There is no gun show loophole. To say that there is
there is no gun show loophole.
Right.
Sorry, brother. Just that.
No,
that
you're fine.
Makes
you're
me
fine.
So angry.
But there is no gun show loophole. So you go around and ask a bunch of people, do you support ending the gun show loophole? And then they all say yes. It's a loophole. As soon as you hear the word loophole, people tend to think, oh, wow, yeah, loopholes are bad. Yeah, I totally support that. There is no gun show loophole. Which means that any legislation that says it's going to end the gun show loophole is on its face misleading. It's fraud from the get-go. Now, you fill out surveys like this and send them to the NRA, and what you are giving is advocates for you're giving Second Amendment advocates data that they can use to say, no, your claims that 85% of Americans support your ludicrous gun control are fallacious. So as much as these feel like a waste of time on the face of it, the fact is we have to generate that data. So we're going to go through this real quick, and then I do have some DGUs pulled up. We'll go through we'll score a couple of those as well. I've got one that sounds very interesting. I'm excited to get to. And an almost breaking piece of news that I'd like to cover, but first things first, let's get through this. Question 1. Do you support or oppose H.R. 8, the so-called Universal Background Check Bill that would do absolutely nothing to combat crime, but would criminalize private gun transfers, put roadblocks in the way of someone who needs a gun in an emergency situation, and is unenforceable without a national gun registry? I want to be fair. This is a leading question. I don't have a problem with this leading question. I understand that it's a leading question. But in fairness, it is a leading question. It does frame the content of the of HR 8, but I would challenge anybody to argue against this framing, because HR 8, like all gun control. Okay. Never ever forget this one thing: shall not be infringed. That is to say, nothing shall be placed near it. If this coffee cup shall not be infringed, then it is wrong to put this pen next to it. That means that any law that mentions guns in any way is unconstitutional. Period. The end. No exceptions. Fight me. So obviously, the answer here, we have not sure. We have support. And then, let's see. Here's a nice big fat green Sharpie for oppose. Now, do you support or oppose H.R. 1446, a bill that would give the Biden administration the ability to grind the instant background check system, NCIS, almost to a complete halt, could force you to file a special petition with the FBI before you're allowed to buy a gun, and will ultimately transform your Second Amendment right into a privilege? Okay. So this one, H.R. 1446, they're talking about something they call the Charleston loophole. They call it the Charleston loophole. Currently, the law requires that when a NICS system background check is entered into the system to do a background check for you to purchase a firearm, it has to be completed within 3 days. And if it's not completed within 3 days, then it has to be treated as if you passed the background check. And that was done to prevent the ATF or the FBI or any other federal agency from using the fact that they get to do a background check on you as a bureaucratic mechanism by which to indefinitely stall the approval of your firearms purchase. Make no mistake, background checks are an absolute violation. An absolute violation of the Second Amendment and the Fourth Amendment. It is an unjustified intrusion into your privacy. It is an unsecuring of your person, property, and papers. It is forcing you to expose yourself to the court without a warrant, without due process, without probable cause of a crime to be investigated, without the due signing of a warrant by a judge to that effect. So background checks are not just a violation of the Second Amendment. They are not just a thing placed near your gun rights and infringement. They are an absolute violation of the Second Amendment and the Fourth Amendment. And frankly, they're a violation. I think it's under the 14th Amendment, the Roe v. Wade argument that it's not okay to murder your baby, but if you do it with your doctor, then your privacy protects the government from investigating that you committed that murder. You know, don't forget, that's how Roe v. Wade works. It doesn't say that abortion is legal. It says that if you choose to murder your baby with your doctor, then your privacy is protected from the government.
Do you think I could get a doctor's note that says I have to have a gun?
Well, you can get a doctor's note that says you have to have an infanticide. So why not?
Just thought I'd put that out there. It could be a whole cottage industry.
You know what? We should just start selling stickers that say "emotional support pistol." We should just open a merch store and sell stickers that say "emotional support pistol." So HR 1446 is trying to deal with what they call I think it's the Charleston loophole. And that's the one where it says, oh, well, people can get a gun if the background check just doesn't get done fast enough. No, the government cannot prevent you from getting a gun by unnecessarily exaggerating or elongating the process of the background check. If they can't finish the background check and get it back in 3 days, then it's gone. The background check is gone. So yes, I absolutely oppose 1446. Not sure? Nope. Support? Nope. To be clear, you don't have to black out the other answers. I'm being unnecessarily dramatic here for effect because you love me for that. Question 3, do you support or oppose H.R. 127, the radical bill that would force you, your spouse, and your family and closest friends to undergo a government psychological exam before the government decides whether you're allowed to own a gun? Let's not forget, it was about 10 years ago that Dianne Feinstein made the argument that no veteran should be allowed to own a firearm because all veterans, without exception, have PTSD. And she was very clear. Like, she meant that not combat veterans, all veterans. Her argument was that if you have ever served in the military, you have PTSD, which is a mental disorder that should preclude you from being allowed to own a firearm. H.R. 127, under that argument, says that if you have ever met a veteran, if you have any relationship of any sort with a person who has served this country and fought the wars to secure your liberties and rights, that you are too close in proximity to a dangerous person, and therefore you, whether or not you have personally gone to the enemy and destroyed the enemies of the United States of America on behalf of the Constitution which we swear to uphold and defend, that you, Mr. Civilian, cannot own a gun because someone you know and love was a patriot and went and served your country. So, absolutely, unambiguously, fuck you in your teeth, H.R. 127. I'm sorry I've just broached the F-bomb barrier, but I actually...
Fuck you in your teeth. That's pretty good.
I apologize. I had not actually intended to get this incensed or to draw this survey out as long as I have, but the more I read it, the more... God, you know what? Every time I fill up my gas tank lately, I just want to slap a Democrat. It's kind of the same thing. Do you support or oppose H.R. 1005, a bill that would allow the government to retain your gun purchase records for a full 90 days and open the door to permanent national gun registration? Absolutely 100%. In fact, let me give you a beautiful little piece of trivia that you may or may not have, unless you've watched every episode of this show. You would have picked it up by now. Yes, Danny, I hurdled that bitch just for you, sunshine. Good morning. The gun registration. The Georgia state constitution includes a provision that makes it a violation of the state's constitution for the state government or any subsequent municipality, city, town, county, any subsequent municipality from the state of Georgia. It is explicitly forbidden in the Constitution of the state of Georgia to even try to introduce a bill relating to a gun registry. Gun registration in the state of Georgia is by the state constitution unconstitutional, and that's worth knowing. That's worth remembering, and when the topic comes up, that's worth saying loudly. Shake your finger and get mad about it. So, unambiguously, you can go piss up a rope with your HR 1005. That's a big oppose. Do you support or oppose HR 130, legislation that would require you to keep your guns unloaded and locked up so they're useless for self-defense? I can't believe that I'm being asked this question in any context in the United States. If a person is ever on the wrong side of me, I pray for you that I have a gun and that I don't have to put my hands on you. I honestly hope that. I honestly wish that for you. That it's quick and clean. God forbid I am unarmed and forced to defend myself. I pray for you people. Not you people, I mean, you're my loving audience. In fact, I've hugged nearly every... except for you, Danny. I think I've hugged everybody that's in this chat right now. So But dear God...
No, you're missing out. Danny's a fantastic hugger. You should have come over last Christmas.
Yeah, but I had an extra hole in my ass. I was busy watching all the Netflix and trying to grow a new butt. It was tough. So, again, unambiguously, the other options don't even exist. Next, number 6. Okay, there's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 questions total, so we're almost done. We're halfway through. Do you support or oppose Joe Biden's plan to ban millions of semi-automatic firearms and every magazine that can hold more than 10 rounds? Okay. I'm just going to pop over here real quick. This is a headline. I haven't read the story yet, but here's the headline. This is one that we were going to score this morning, so let's do it. Get the scorecard up there. Diner in Louisville draws handgun as armed BLM protesters swarm restaurant. There's your video. There's the diner with his handgun drawn. Notice, it says armed BLM protesters. A lot of these guys are clearly Antifa. Now, Alex, you should say miniature gun. Minigun is a whole nother thing. That is not an M174 or M172.
Yes, you cannot cut down a whole bunch of forest and predator.
Yeah, he doesn't get the pig fart with that little pistol. He gets the poop poop. But I mean, y'all saw that little piece of video. There's more than 10 problems here. And there's more than 10 problems here. And let me tell you something about shooting people. Okay? Because I've seen me do it. One bullet almost never gets the job done. Okay? Unlike a knife wound, unlike a single knife wound, one bullet very rarely gets the job done. When you're talking about a handgun, even a big handgun, you've got stopping power. But unless you just hit the head or the heart, and you shouldn't because you're aiming center mass, you're probably going to need more than one to get the job done. So you need at least twice as many bullets as there are threats. A 10 round cap? You go pound sand. Unambiguously. Pound flipping sand. And in this case, in this article, it looks like the guy drew the weapon and brandished it, which is legally a little fuzzy, but the data that we do have tells us that the vast majority of cases that involve a firearm are self-defense cases where the firearm is brandished, and that puts an end to the altercation without a shot having to be fired. I'm actually all for brandishing responsibly, brandishing. But if I can draw my weapon, and that just means that nobody gets hurt at all because I showed my weapon and convinced a dangerous criminal that he wants a dangerous criminal somewhere else, that works for me. Now, the preferred outcome is that dangerous criminal goes to jail forever or dies right there. But if all I can do is diffuse a possibly volatile situation, I would rather get in front of a jury and explain why I brandished my weapon than let the situation go too far, worried that I'm going to risk getting on the wrong side of the law by brandishing. That's not legal advice, that's my personal position.
Yeah, Papa Sheepdog used to say that if he wanted them to hit the ground real quick, all he did was rack the shotgun. It was amazing how fast they'd get on their belly.
Yeah. Yeah, because they've been watching action movies and they think that you have to cock. They think that people walk around with a firearm that's not cocked on their hips. Like, okay. Okay, in fairness, I don't cock my weapon before I put it in the holster on my hip because it's a double action revolver. Yes. Moving on. Question number 7. Do you support or oppose Joe Biden's plan for nationwide gun confiscations that would force tens of millions of gun holders to hand their firearms over to the federal government? Okay, there is a bit of a framing device here, but I'm comfortable with it. And, again, wow, my lack of ambiguity is running me out of black ink in this poor Sharpie. But that's why I buy Sharpies in bulk. Do you support or oppose Joe Biden's plan to ban online ammo sales, making it even harder to purchase ammunition during this national shortage? Not only do I absolutely support the rapid and mass acquisition of ammunition for the purposes of home defense and just generally good economics. I want to take this moment with Alex in the chat to remind everybody, especially you, Tim, the Rockdale County GOP, the Rockdale County Republican Party, where I am right now, and where I went to the meeting for them last night, is doing a raffle for. Help me out, Alex. I think it's $5 per raffle ticket, or $20 for 5, and they're raffling off 1,000 rounds of 9mm ammunition. So I will be buying at least $20 worth of raffle tickets. I might just show up at the tent with a Benjamin. Now, it's not going to do me so much good. That'll end up being for my wife's gun, but she needs practice. You know what? Shots Fired over in Covington has a ladies' night on Wednesdays. I might just send the kids next door and we'll call it a date. You know, take the wife out, we'll go get a bite to eat, get her toes did, go to the range. So, yeah, Tim, if you have any questions about it, well, if anybody in the chat, obviously, Tim, if you have any questions about it, Alex just dropped the raffle, and of course you can always call me directly, Tim. So, anywho, no, before I move off of that, let me ask, Alex, not all of our viewers, obviously Danny's with us and, you know, some others, Trisha, not all of our viewers are in Georgia, certain, let alone Rockdale County. Can non-Rockdale citizens purchase a raffle ticket and then get the ammo shipped to them, or what? Tell me about anything I need to know there, just in case I suddenly send a bunch of out-of-state foreigners to come and buy my raffle tickets up. For one, I don't need the competition, but the party needs the money. Do you support or oppose Joe Biden's plan to repeal the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act, thereby exposing gun manufacturers and gun stores to crippling billionaire-funded lawsuits that will drive most of them out of business? Should I be able to sue Ford if I get in a car accident? If I go out there and get shit-faced drunk and wrap my personal F-150 around a tree, do I get to sue Ford? I think not. If I go and get the COVID vaccine and die of deep vein thrombosis, does my wife get to set her and the children up on a settlement when she sues Johnson & Johnson? No. In fact, that's been explicitly forbidden by the law. So, no. You don't get to sue gun manufacturers when crackheads murder people. And I'm about to unambiguously throw this poor marker away. And then finally, in the next election, will you vote for any candidate who supports any new law that would infringe upon your constitutionally protected right to keep and bear arms? There's... Yes is not an answer. Unsure is not an answer. Oh, and by the way, if you're unsure, you need to get smart. You need to get smarter. If you have any uncertainty at all about the dangers of the current Democrat administration, the currently elected Democrats, you need to educate yourself. Tune in here. I'll be happy to educate on your behalf. I will educate you. I'm happy to do it. It's what I do. I enjoy it. And now, let me reach under and unplug this so I can set this camera aside. Okay. It is Firearms Friday. Cameron, how you doing for time? Do you have to dip out?
I can stick around for one.
Okay, let's do one. I want to do one thing real quick before I do one, and I mean real quick. I just want to break this. I don't have a whole lot more information. Got this article from CNN. Patrick tuned me into it. Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms will not seek re-election. I don't know what's going on yet. I'm not going to read the article to you. I just want to throw this out there, and I want to add, Keisha, don't let the doorknob hit you in your lanced bottoms on the way out. You will not be missed. Your bigotry will not be missed. And your support of active terror groups like BLM and Antifa will not be missed.
Yeah, you have to wonder, what's the rest of this story? Like, a single term and she's just going to dip out?
Tim says she's running for governor. Honestly, Tim, I doubt it. Unless Stacey Abrams has decided that she's not going to run for governor. Democrats, they don't tend to, especially when you're talking about two Democrats like Stacey Abrams and Keisha Lance Bottoms. I could talk about identity politics. They're both black women. You've got the black girl magic. They're both strident bigots. But more importantly, they're also both members of that sorority. They're both members of that one exclusive sorority. The name of it fails me, but there's a massive all black sorority that's hyper exclusive, and they're basically they recruit at the colleges in Georgia, and nationally they recruit from the colleges young black women to radicalize them into active criminals, and they're both members of that sorority. So anyway, this one is not so much a DGU situation, so this will not have been a usual. Danny says Delta Sigma Theta. I think that's the one, Danny. I think you're right there. Breaking news. Texas ranchers are now fighting armed illegal immigrants themselves because Biden has largely withdrawn Border Patrol. I want to read that again. And I want you to pay attention to the order of the words, because what it just said, the placement of the word armed in this sentence is shocking and significant. Texas ranchers are now fighting armed illegal immigrants themselves because Biden has largely withdrawn Border Patrol. Let's also not forget that Biden was a part of the administration that gave us the Fast and Furious scandal. So Biden, who has chosen to not just allow these hostile foreign invaders to enter our country, but to actively invite them and incentivize them to do so, is also one of the original masterminds, and I use that term loosely in this case, behind arming the criminal syndicates who are currently arming these criminal aliens. Our chief executive is one of the men who armed the hostile foreign invaders and is now actively defanging our border security and then explicitly inviting hostile foreign invaders to, and I quote, surge the border. And now, Texas ranchers are fighting armed illegal immigrants themselves because Biden has largely withdrawn Border Patrol. As Biden continues to ignore the problem he created at the southern border, Texas ranchers are taking a stand to help secure their properties. One such man is John Sewell, who has caught multiple illegal immigrants and handed them off to the Border Patrol before he even had a chance to eat breakfast. He told Fox News in an interview. Cameron, you sounded like you were about to say something.
No, I'm just...
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
His story isn't unique either. He says there's other ranchers out there like him who are forced to protect their properties because Border Patrol has told them their hands are tied. On April 15th, Texas ranchers were forced to fight off armed human smugglers themselves, the Epoch Times reports. They were told by federal and local law enforcement to carry guns because the new smugglers are militant. And the Epoch Times reports multiple organizations are blaming the failure on President Biden because he will not do what is necessary to protect American citizens. The problem is so bad that a group of Texans have banded together to help Border Patrol do its job. The group, Texas Border Volunteers, regularly track human smugglers and contact Border Patrol and Texas Rangers to help apprehend the smugglers and shut down the entry paths into Texas. Though they've been working for 15 years, they say this year has had unprecedented numbers of immigrants. Many are unsure why Biden continues to put the lives of Texans and others in border cities and states at risk with his executive orders, telling Border Patrol to stop focusing on the dangerous human smugglers at the border. According to a new NBC poll, 6 in 10 Americans think Biden is doing a horrible job at the border. And, okay, if only 6 in 10 Americans think Biden is doing a horrible job at the border, the problem we have is not that some Americans disagree on what it means to do a good job at the border. What we have is 40% of Americans are stupid. They're illiterate, ill-mannered, and they're believing lies that are not believable. Unlike President Trump, who cleaned up the issue by leaving it to the experts, the Border Patrol agents themselves, Biden continues to tell Border Patrol to stop doing their jobs, and Texans are the ones who foot the dangerous bill. So, that's the end of the article, Cameron, and, yeah.
Yeah, well, as awful as all that is, at least they're armed. I mean, you know that these ranchers are seriously armed too. Like, they're toting AR-15s out there because they have to worry about the wild boar.
Yep.
Like, there's actual wildlife out there that's a real problem.
They're probably not toting. If they're toting AR-15s, they're probably reboard for 308 precisely because what they have to deal with are boar. And I'm sorry, I don't want to face off against a wild boar with 5.56 or 223.
Want something with a little more punch?
Yeah.
Right.
Because honestly, I'm actually relatively confident that I could kill a charging boar with my AR-15. But then there's another problem. Even even a dead charging boar is still motivated by its own retained inertia. It didn't suddenly stop charging just because it died of a gunshot wound to the brain. I mean, yeah, I'm substantially less likely to get gored after that 1-ton pig rolls me over, but I'd like it to be stopped.
Yeah, just ask Robert Baratheon, and that's a deep nerdy cut right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your mom makes the point that it's only 6 and 10 because of the audience question.
That's also a good point.
Yeah, she could well be right. You and I.
They're asking the same people that they asked about why voter IDs are racist. Oh, well, because black people are too stupid to use a computer or find the DMV, and they're too broke to pay for a license. In all those states that require voter ID, where the license is free, where the voter ID is free. Yeah, they're too broke for the free voter ID. Oh.
Well, unfortunately, brother, I have to go make them donuts.
All right, brother. Hey, hold on a second. Alex, it's one thing to go hunt boar with an AR. We're not talking about hunting them, identifying the target, and attacking it at the range and location from which you choose. We're talking about, as a farmer, having to deal with one that's suddenly charging at you, and you just have to deal with the position that's available to you. Yeah, I mean, hunting one with an AR? No problem. That's if I'm taking the shot I want to take, no problem. But if I'm having to take the shot that I have to take, I want some nuts in that bullet. So, all right. Cameron says he's got to go. Cam, I'm going to hang out for just a minute. Since I've got Alex in the chat, but have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you later, and we'll see you back here on Monday morning. But you can go ahead and hang up. I'm just going to switch it over to just me for now. And we've lost Cameron. Oh, real quick. I've got something just while I've got Alex in the chat and Mom in the chat. Last night we were at the GOP meeting, and Alex and I were pretty hard on the speaker, Debbie, last night. Yeah, I thought it was friendly, and I hung out with Debbie for a little while after the meeting, and we had a very good conversation. But one of the things that she mentioned was the origin of no excuse absentee ballots. And I'm not going to make any accusations or pontifications on the 2020 election. That is not what I'm talking about here. But she mentioned that the origin of the no excuse absentee ballots is when the Republicans in Georgia first pushed for voter ID back in the early 2000s, back in the aughts. The Democrats lost their minds and they pitched a temper tantrum, and the compromise was that we allowed that was when we created the no excuse absentee ballots. So to be clear, what happened there is Republicans attempted to make elections more secure. Democrats pitched a temper tantrum about elections being secure, and the compromise that Republicans agreed to, and this is one of the reasons that you need to vote them all out, they bent the knee and agreed that we're going to do this thing that would make elections more secure, and in order to get you to agree to that, we're going to do this other thing that makes them even less secure than they were before we took this measure with IDs to make them more secure. So basically, they said, we want to secure the elections, and the Democrats said, we'll let you pretend to secure the elections if you promise us that you'll create a funnel for amphibious priapisms going forward. And that's what happened. So Zaluska has arrived. That means the show must be over. It's good to see you, brother. I'm actually going to call you in just a minute because we've got a gig on Monday I hope you can join me for. For the rest of you, it is Friday. You're going into the weekend. Be safe out there. I love you. Thanks for watching. And remember, don't fry bacon naked. Don't drive drink. Sex, drugs, rock and roll. Firearms, farm animals, and alcohol, and videotape. No two at the same time. Be safe, and we'll see you Monday morning.